What's happening, everybody? Welcome back. This is Forgo. And before we get into this video, I do want to mention that we did get an extension as far as the EX banner is concerned. And according to Netmarble, they say within the addition of the new EX fighter, the combat style become more diverse. Thus, the schedule of some content and in-game event will be adjusted so that you can upgrade, Kusanagi 15 Kyo a little more and enjoy the event longer. Okay. So to those of us who were in the midst of acquiring and strengthening the new fighter, please refer to the change dates. All right, so you guys can see down here that they did, extend the date by 4 days. Now, here's the thing about this. I think it's really awesome that they did extend the dates because it gives people a little bit more time to acquire some rubies. That's all good and dandy, but this is on the 22nd of this month. And the 22nd of this month falls on Sunday. And as many of you know, the reset actually happens on Monday. So I'm a little bummed out that they just didn't extend it, for 5 days instead of 4 days. That way people would have one extra reset to gain some rubies. Because if that's their, way of thinking, right? If that's their initial thought process, then that's what they should have done according to what I'm reading here, but for whatever reason, it's still a good thing to add an extra 4 days, but it really would have been nice if they would add just one more day, so at least people would have that reset, although maybe they're going to, let people have that reset, those rubies for different characters since the banner will be over. But yeah, I just wanted to throw out my little 2 cents about that. Now, let's get into the video, which is Akuma. So I made a video a while back talking about cores and everything, and I mentioned about Kyo that I was actually wrong. Whenever you unlock his core, unfortunately when you get the character at day 5, you unlock this concentrate, and it's pretty godly on Kyo. And and I mentioned that for Akuma, it really wasn't that great. However, I was wrong, guys. I was wrong. I actually did quite a bit of practicing with Akuma, and I found out that he actually does do more damage with a different rotation as long as you have this concentrate unlocked. Whenever you use his concentration, he can actually reset his third skill, similar to Kyo resetting his first skill over and over and over. Although with Kyo, it's just, his first skill over and over and over whenever you're spamming. Whereas with Akuma, it isn't that way. You actually want to be doing his third skill over and over because that actually gets reset. But his first skill actually already has a built-in reset in this thing. His first skill can actually reset itself. It doesn't always do it, but it does have a chance of doing it. And what you can do is you can actually go 3-1, 3-1, 3-1. That way you're doing dot explosion every single time, and you're doing that third skill over and over and over for that entire 3-second duration that concentration gives you from his EX core. Now, for some of you, this video isn't going to be very helpful at all because you don't have A5 Akuma, right? That means it's a pretty expensive process getting a character A5, but even on my free-to-play account, I got Ryu to A7, right? I've actually got Ryu leveled up just as much as I have my Akuma on my main account, so it's very possible for even a free-to-play player to have this character at A7 or even at least A5 to where they have the core unlocked. So I thought it'd be interesting to show you guys this video because right now currently we have the successor set in the game, this set here that adds a lot of CP. So we're actually going to nail 2 birds with 1 stone, right? We're actually going to compare this set on Akuma versus the Rush Dungeon set because as I've tested in the past, the Rush Dungeon set was actually the best on Akuma. Notice I said was. If you use Akuma in the leadership and you set up like these option cards, and everybody got this option card right here, and then you might have got this one, maybe not, on him. Even if you don't, you can just give him a CP card, guys. He doesn't need any CP for the rotation that I'm going to be using because whenever you use Concentrate, you don't need a bunch of cooldown, right? You're just going to be using your third skill over and over and over and your first skill to do a pretty insane amount of damage. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this setup right here on Akuma, and we're going to also just put the successor set on here and see what is the difference. I do have a little transcended on this first one right here that is giving a little balanced TIE Fighter critical rate, so that isn't helping Akuma at all. And the successor set isn't transcended at all either. It's not transcended even a little bit, as far as I know. Yeah, there's no transcended on this thing, so it's going to be a pretty fair comparison as far as training because we're still going to use the same option cards. We're still obviously going to use the same 3 PGs. Now, when it comes to the runs that you're going to see, guys, I want you to notice that this thing does give him an extra attack, obviously, but it gives him an extra attack critical rate by 2.8% after being transcended. There is no transcended stat on this one here, and the transcended stat on this card only increases attack TIE Fighter shock damage. So this isn't beneficial to Akuma at all. All we're really gaining is CP, and then of course the critical rate, attack, and the critical damage by 15%. And something that I just want to note about this video is that, I think this is something we need to look for in the future for characters whenever they get this core that has concentration. This is actually much more OP than what I actually anticipated, and it's actually a lot better. It's not as good on Akuma as it is Kyo, because the way Kyo is set up, his first skill is the one that actually gets reset, the one that does the dot explosion. So he just does insanity as far as damage. But if you're using Akuma, like I said earlier, and you're going 3-1, 3-1, 3-1, you would be surprised. Like, there is a nice damage increase on Akuma's damage when you do use his EX core versus not using it. Like, if I just come in here and I spam my skills with this team, if I just spam my skills, I won't do as much damage as what I'm going to show you using the EX core. And what we're going to do today is we're just going to compare using the Rush Dungeon set versus the successor set using the EX core to see which one of the sets is actually better doing this rotation. So I'm actually going to show you guys how you can actually run this with Akuma to maybe increase your scores, and also that the successor set is actually very, very good on him, because Akuma's leadership actually gives critical rate to himself. 10% critical rate, right? Think about that. So he's going to have 10% critical rate there. He's going to get the extra critical rate from the successor set. He's going to do a lot of critical hits. And having all that critical damage from the extra option cards, and the fact that, you don't need to worry about cooldown because of the EX core, really does help his damage. I mean, Bison, we're going to be using Bison's EX core, obviously. The weaken here, because it increases damage, all damage received by 30% for 15 seconds. And then we're going to be using Leona for the same thing from our first and second skill. And I also have the City of Darkness set on Leona that does give an increased target damage received by 10%. I honestly don't know if this stacks on top of what Leona's doing, but I think it does, because every time I use this set, we do more damage. And we do have a super armor card on Leona, so that way she doesn't get interrupted when she gets dropped in. So I'll go ahead and bring up the run for you guys. Alright, so on the left side is going to be the successor set, and on the right side is the Rush Dungeon set. So remember the successor on the left, the Rush Dungeon on the right. I'll probably put some text in the video for you guys, so that way you don't get confused about which side has which set. But, whenever I play with Akuma, what you're trying to do, guys, is you immediately want to try to enter his 3PG. So I start with the second skill, his third skill, and then I start repeating and hitting his first skill over and over and over until he builds up his 3PG, and do that. The reason you want to do that is because you want his EX core ready the next go around. After you do his 3PG, then I switch to Bison, do his 3PG, then I switch to Leona, apply all the increased target damage received, and then I switch to Akuma and his EX core is ready. And once that EX core is ready, I go 3-1, 3-1, 3-1, 3-1, 3-1. Once I hit concentration, I just hit that 3-1 combination back and forth, because you're getting the third skill and the first, getting that explosion every single time. And then I hit the 3PG in the very first rotation. After that, you'll notice what I do is that I will, when I bring in Akuma, I will do the 2-3-1, break the meter, and then I'll hit concentration skill and go 3-1, 3-1, 3-1, and then I'll hit the default for the extra increased target damage received from Akuma, and then go into his 3PG afterward. And that's what I'm going to do every single time afterwards. It's only the very first rotation that I don't do as default, and that's because of the timing of whenever Rugal does his explosion. That's why I do it that way, and it works out really, really well for Akuma, guys. And if you do play with them, whether you have the Rush Dungeon set or, I imagine everybody's got the Rush Dungeon set because it was a free set. I mean, even if you don't have the successor set, which is better definitely for this method, I mean, it's a really strange thing. Whenever I spam my skills, the Rush Dungeon set does more damage. But whenever I'm using the EX core and I got the extra option cards obviously on them, then we're doing more damage with the successor set, because we're actually adding more critical damage, we're adding more critical rate, and we're just hitting harder more often. And I think that's the difference, and why the successor set is actually doing more damage in this scenario. I mean, but I've tested Akuma before, Rush Dungeon versus the successor set, and the Rush Dungeon set, in a Spider Robot test, actually did more damage by a pretty large margin. Right? But there's no leadership involved in there, right? There's no extra critical rate. There was no option card. I was using cooldown cards in that test. And it just goes to show you guys that, we really need to do some in-depth testing on these cards to really know if they're really worth it or if they're not. And after this run, if you guys got a 5-star Akuma and you have his EX core unlocked, I mean, you might want the successor set. I mean, it's not only great for CP for your EX characters, but it also adds a large amount of damage to someone like Akuma. It really does, guys, because of his EX core, because you don't need cooldown, right? You can reset the 3 and 1 over and over on Akuma. You don't need cooldown cards. You don't need them because you already have your skills available for enough time where you can run through those skills, do your default, and do your 3PG, and you can do really nutty damage with the character. I mean, let's take a look at the damage that we've done already in the time span that we played, right? So we played almost 1 minute, and we're at 4 billion on the left side, which is using the successor set. 4 billion, guys, in 1 minute, halfway through this thing. Now, I know that is not a top score. I realize that, Kyo and even my Rugal can do more damage than that, right? But my Rugal is jacked, okay, on my account. He's jacked. My Akuma is not built as well as my Rugal, and it really would make a big difference if he was. It would make a huge difference. I could do way more damage with Akuma if I just changed his build a little bit. Unfortunately, I don't have the stones that I need in order to do that, because if I did, I would put him on them because he is one of my favorite characters in the fighting world, right? So for me, I would highly invest in the character, like Rugal, Leona, and Akuma. I mean, they're big ones for me, and I want to go all out on all those characters. It's just I don't have the stones to be able to do it for Akuma yet. But when I get them, I probably will, and then I'll probably try this again, maybe when he's at level 70, to see how much damage we can actually get out of this character, because I know he can do quite a bit more than what I'm even showing you guys. And the thing is, guys, when it comes to these things, like, even though he might not be the top meta, 4 billion in 1 minute is absolutely insane. That is just a nutty score. And the fact is, you only need 1.25 billion for one key to get the maximum rewards out of Guild Raid. And this is why I always tell everybody always to go for their favorite characters, because more than likely, as long as you get a good meter breaker, as long as you got a character that maybe has some increased RDMC like Leona, or maybe some other character, Baiken, or maybe even some other future character, you're going to do some pretty insane damage with your other characters, right? As long as you got those meter breakers and you got the increased target damage received, you're going to do pretty good damage, even with a character that, say, isn't at the top. And I might do another video like that, showing you guys just a regular character, showing what they actually are capable of. But as you guys can see, Akuma he's nutty, right? He's not the strongest anymore, obviously. I mean, Kyo replaced him as far as, damage, which, isn't no surprise. I mean, it isn't no surprise, I mean, I've seen Kyo get 43 billion in Guild Raid, which is just insanity and freaking broken as hell, right? It just goes to show you we really do need some higher rewards or some higher difficulty challenging content. Also, I do realize that not everybody gets those kind of scores. In fact, that is a rare thing, and only massive whales are going to be able to get that, and that's awesome if they do. It's cool, but you have to be a whale in order to do that kind of stuff, because your fame system would have to be maxed out in order to get those kind of scores, and a maxed out character for also as well. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty nutty, guys. I mean, you see 6.2 billion on the right, you see 7.4 on the left. I mean, yeah. And even on the right, well, I mean, it actually timed out about the same. You had a default in there. We actually was able to get another 3PG on the right where we couldn't on the left. So our score on the left would actually been a little bit higher. But guys, look at the score on the left right now. 8.2 billion. And that's with the successor set. And on the right, as you will see, it's still awesome, but it's not 8.2 billion, right? It is 7.1, almost 7.1 billion. So we did like a little over 1.1 billion more points with the successor set. That is insane, guys. And seriously, if I had transcended stats on these characters, on transcended stats on these cards, if I had if I had successor set on him and I had burn stats on the successor set, if I had transcended burn addition on these things, we would do even more damage. Think about that. And check this out. 3 double attack stones, and then 3 and then 2 just single attack stones. And these aren't even burn, these are darkness. Actually, I think burn would have been better because it would have really scaled his explosion. If these were double attack burn, Akuma would have did way more damage, guys. We would have gotten we would have done over 10 billion. I would say probably relatively easily if I would have had double attack here, and definitely if I had transcended, probably even more than that, guys. Like, he seriously is freaking nuts. If this card would have been transcended and we would have had, you know, some extra burn on this. I mean, if you're trying to scale his damage and you're transcending cards, you just want to get as much burn as possible for him. So I just wanted to show you guys that and show you that his EX core is actually valuable if you do have him at A5. His damage will go up if you are using it. If you're doing the 3-1 combination as far as, you know, running through your skills, whenever you break the meter, he will do more damage. And if you are using that method and you do have this character at A5, the successor set will be the top dog for him. It's absolutely nutty on this character. So guys, let me know what you think about the fact that they didn't extend the days just one more day so we could at least have that reset. And also let me know what you guys think about Akuma using the concentration skill. And I do stream on Twitch at 9 p.m. Ginger+7 time. The link is in the description below. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Y'all take care and have a good one. See you, everybody.